There are advertising agencies that say, don't have multiple testimonials, just choose the best one, because the others will dilute the best one. That's not what the research shows. The research shows having subsequent additional testimonials reinforces the best one.
Into our next topic, which is authority. So you mentioned the authority principle, Bob. Would you tell us what is the psychology behind authority, and how is that created? How is authority created?
Certainly. We live in what is unquestionably the most stimulus-saturated, information-overloaded environment that's ever existed on our planet. We have so many choices. We have so many opportunities, options, and so on that we are presented with, that we have an increase in uncertainty. And people don't like being uncertain before they choose. They want to have evidence of the direction they should move before they actually take that step. And when you are uncertain, you don't look inside yourself for an answer, because all you see is that lack of confidence of what you should do. You look outside, and there's one place that we reliably look for evidence of what we should do next when we are uncertain, and that is the voices of authority. Those people who we have identified as experts in the arena, who have the experience and background and credentials to allow us to have confidence that they will steer us correctly and move us away from this uncertain state into an arena where we can say, okay, I see what the authorities are saying. Let me, therefore, go forward with that piece of information. It's very powerful. And as you can see from the slide, there are two kinds of authority that we can talk about. Earned authority, that is, authority that you have because of what you have done, what you have studied, what you've experienced, and so on. And making that available to people then gives you the credibility to allow them to move in your direction without having to consider all the other options. You know that this person is an expert. I can trust his or her choices. All right. So let me give you an example of a study that we did, my own team. We were asked by a local hospital to help with a problem that they were having with stroke victims, stroke sufferers who had come into the hospital and then were released after they had recovered enough. But they were given, when they were released, a regimen to do at home of exercises, stretches, and various kinds of activities that would make their ability to overcome the symptoms of the stroke easier for them to accomplish. And what they found when they would bring them back to assess their progress is that many of them had not done their home exercises, even though they were told that this is what's going to help you. And they asked us to interview those people. We did. We interviewed them. And a lot of them said this: well, we know about the background and training and expertise of our physicians. They have their diplomas and their certifications on the walls of their offices, and we know what they've gone through in medical school, how difficult that is, their internships and their residencies and so on. So we trust them, but they weren't the ones who gave us the sheet exercise. It was the physical therapists who did. And we didn't know about their authority. Well, the physical therapists in that hospital were very well trained, were very well credentialed. They had all kinds of authority in their backgrounds, but people couldn't see it. So all we did was ask them on the physical therapy lab, where people came back to test their range of motion and strength and so on, and to learn how to do these exercises better. On the walls of that lab, we had all of the diplomas, all of the credentials, all of the certificates, all of the awards that physical therapy team had honestly earned.
Makes sense.
Exercise compliance went up 31%. Wow. Not because these people didn't have authority, they didn't show the authority that they had. So if you've got it, you have to find. Tatiana's question was an excellent one. If you've got it, what's the best way to present it? Again, you don't do it face to face in person. You can't sit down in front of somebody and say, before we begin, let me tell you how great I really am. It goes against all the rules of social interaction. You can't do it. So you have to do it some other way. You send them a message ahead of time with your resume. You have it in a printed form. That sort of way to do it. And then you can and in this case, to put the awards that you've had in a visible place without necessarily promoting them yourself. They see them. If they can see that on your website, you haven't done it face to face. It's much better there. Okay. So that's earned authority. How about borrowed authority? What we've said is people want to know about the voices of true experts. Well, if you are a true expert, but there are also other experts, there are people who could testify regarding your strengths, the rationale behind your idea or product or service, and that they favor it, that they endorse it. That's the other way we can do it. And of course, the shopper approved is a one way to make that happen, where you see what others who are trusted authorities, where they place you, what they've said about you. And here's an example from another consultation that we did with the Bose Acoustics Corporation. They had a product they called the Bose Wave Music System, and they had an ad for it that wasn't getting enough purchase for their preference. So they asked me to come in and change it. And I won't go through the whole process, but there was one change we made, which was to put a line of testimonials at the front of the ad before they experienced anything else. At the front of the ad, there were 4 testimonials from widely known experts in audition and technology about the positive features of the Bose Wave music system that increased sales by 15% immediately.
Persuasion.
Yeah. In interest. So here's 2 things I want to say about that. Those testimonials came first. That's what I'm going to ask you to do first, so that you've got persuasive evidence before people even read the first line of your message. Get that authority aura infused in everything you say. Secondly, there were multiple testimonials. The research is very clear on this. If you want to increase the power of authority, increase the number of authorities. Right? There are advertising agencies that say, don't have multiple testimonials, just choose the best one, because the others will dilute the best one. That's not what the research shows. The research shows having subsequent additional testimonials reinforces the best one. So what people want is a consensus of authority, and that outdistances even the best one by itself.
Thank you very much. That was a great explanation of authority, why it's important, how to get it, which is going to lead us into, Bob, a split test, that was done on a website. And what they were doing here is testing a single testimonial against third-party brand logos for that borrowed authority. So version A was the testimonial, version B in an A/B split test was the third-party logos. And in this case, those third-party logos outpulled the single testimonial. As you can see, the sales were up by 13.54% and leads up by 6.59% by simply displaying that borrowed authority vis-a-vis name brands that this company works with.
Great.
Another one, simply put, which you can hardly see there, but there's G2 badges. G2 is a online review platform for technology, software, etc. And they have various awards that they hand out based on the reviews and the feedback that people give about that technology or software. And by simply displaying those third-party borrowed authority badges on their website, they increased leads by 5.35%. So now we're going to roll back to Scott and talk about authority in search and what that looks like.
Awesome. So we're going to roll through this pretty quick. I just want to show you a different lens. So when you look at these different slides, think about it from that perspective of mostly borrowed authority. When you're online, you can gain authority like Bose, right? Bose has authority that they've earned over time, but they can still leverage borrowed authority. And typically in your case as an e-commerce merchant, you're leveraging a lot of borrowed authority. And I want you to see that from a different lens. So this is an ad in Google. Even though it's sponsored, it's still at the top of Google. So Google is lending some authority there. Now, it's not as high as if it was in the organic search results, but there is still some borrowed authority from Google. Plus, they're just displaying star ratings and the overall star rating out of 5 and the total number of reviews. That's coming from Google as well. So that's authority. This example is what we talked about before, that shopper approved certificate on our site. So we're actually lending our authority to Betty's and the star ratings and things that we've collected for them. This is an example of Google Business. So this was formerly called Google My Business, but this typically shows up on the right-hand side of a Google search result. And again, this is Google lending authority through the reviews that they've collected for that company.
And we can send reviews to Google Business Profile as well as one of those review destination sources to distribute the reviews across the web to get you that authority and search optimization and multiple impressions in search.
Right. This is another example of Google Shopping. They do different formats, right? Sometimes it's a comparison chart if multiple brands are selling the same product. But here again, Google's lending their authority behind it. They're showing product reviews and the Google Top Quality Score badge. So again, lending authority. This is our actual shopper proof certificate. If somebody clicks on that listing in Google and they go here, then this is what they're going to see. And there's a breakdown of all the different reviews that have been collected in the types. So that's a lot of authority. And then this one is double. So you've got Google promoting it and YouTube. So there's 2 different types of authority being borrowed.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. So now we're going to talk about what does authority look like on your website. So Scott covered what authority might look like in search results. Now people are going to click on those search results and they're going to go to your website. We like to call this the conversion path. In our mind, the conversion path is creating trust and credibility and removing friction from search to checkout, and then applying behavioral design principles at every step along the way. So authority on your site might be as seen on or seen in TV, radio, print, other websites, review sites, etc. awards and certificates. Dr. Cialdini talked earlier about earned authority, and awards and certificates are definitely earned authority. Ratings and reviews as well, very important. Expert endorsements, that's going to be borrowed authority, if you will. Helpful content. I'm sure that you've all done some kind of a search for a health-related question, and 9 out of 10 times you're going to get WebMD or the Cleveland Clinic or the Mayo Clinic. And it's because those 3 websites have a lot of helpful content that address most every health-related question or diet-related or supplement-related question you can think of. So we like to say, if you really want to dominate the web and drive more traffic and conversions to your website, your goal should be to become the WebMD of your space by taking a approach of answering the questions that your customers have or have had, or questions you think they will have, and then running those through a search optimized Q&A tool to dominate those page 1 results. And then there's the brand and client logos. We showed you that split test earlier where they showed HBO and Netflix. And because of those brand and client logos, they increased leads and sales. And then the last one would be security logos, having a secure website seal next to your buy now or add to cart. We're all familiar with J.D. Power and Associates and their awards. They've been around since 1968, providing awards primarily originally to the automotive industry. They've now branched out to just about every industry there is. But this is an example of borrowed authority through a third party. And these do very well to create that trust and credibility, as Dr. Cialdini said earlier. This is another example of borrowed authority. And this is our review seal in the footer of a website. So we advocate that you have social proof on the homepage at the top, middle, and bottom, and then having this review seal at the bottom of every page, because the last thing you want people to know is, oh, this is a trusted website. We talked about putting reviews at the top, and Bob talked about that quite a bit. So that's the first thing people see. We call it the first mental image, and then we sandwich that with the last mental image, which is this review seal. So the first thing they see is credibility. The last thing they see is credibility. This is an example of also borrowed or third-party authority by having a secure transaction seal from a third-party website security company to add that additional subconscious sense of security, because nobody wants their credit card information or their personal information stolen. We've mostly been through many, many hacks ourselves, and that's the last thing we want. So that's a great sense of credibility and trust to add. So going back to our methodology that we like to do, as Scott said, we like to do a lot of surveys and research to find out what is moving the market, what makes people tick. So we did another survey and we asked the question, how much more likely are you to buy if a product page has a trusted, secure transaction link next to the Buy Now button? Now, by link, we mean you can actually click on it and it'll show you that this is a third-party trusted security source. And the results came back saying that 74% of the survey respondents were highly or extremely likely to continue the transaction if they saw that secure transaction seal. We also looked at a third-party study done by Conversion Fanatics, which is a conversion rate optimization company out of Austin, Texas. And they did an independent study that found by adding a TrustGuard security seal to the checkout page, they saw a 19% increase in orders, a 28% increase in recurring orders, and a 71% increase in average order value, or AOV. So obviously by showing that trust and that credibility from a third party where it counts on the product page next to the Add to Cart or Buy Now button increases conversion through ethical persuasion. So it's probably no secret that Amazon still displays a secure transaction seal to this day on their website. Everybody knows Amazon. They know they're trusted, they're credible, they're real, they're legitimate. They probably buy from them multiple times a week, but they still display that secure transaction seal because it's a subconscious reminder that you can trudge forth with confidence. Okay, we're going to open it back up to a little Q&A. And
yeah, definitely. Let's jump right in. Dana has her hand raised. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Simple question. This is great. Terrific consumer information. What about B2B?
Great question, Dana. It all works the same because the mind works the same.
Right.
We don't put on a different brain when we start buying for the business or on behalf of a business. We have the same psychology, the same concerns, the same fears, the same motivators. We're looking for the same trust signals. We're looking for a relatively frictionless environment. We're looking for authority, credibility, trust. So great question. But the reality is it's just as effective in a B2B as a B2C or a B2G environment.
Do you have any examples of like how you would change? I mean, obviously we're not selling gate openers to farmers, although technically that's a B2B, but you know what I mean? Like it's not an Amazon purchase. It's actually through intermediaries. So we're dealing with the intermediaries. So, you know, how would you how do you kind of press? I get the authority, and credibility, but I'm just kind of thinking about, you know, the trust thing, particularly because, you know, B2B buyers, you know, trust becomes very important. I remember years ago, you know, somebody once told me, no one ever got fired for hiring, you know, for buying something from IBM. Well, those days changed, but you get the point.
Right. Again, going back to thinking about what are the ways we can add credibility, trust, authority? Well, certificates, awards, years in business, McDonald's. What is it? Over 10 billion served. It has no reviews. It doesn't have testimonials. It's just using social proof vis-a-vis over 10 billion served. So they must be credible. Obviously, you can still collect reviews and ratings for a B2B product just as well as a B2C. There's no exclusivity there or limitations. But those are just some ways that you can add credibility and authority through certificates, awards, years in business, how many customers served, using client logos that company has worked with. Those are all great ways to add authority, credibility, and social proof. Bob, would you have something to add to that?
Well, I would agree with the first premise that you began with, DJ, and that is you're still dealing with people, and the factors that are levers for influence in people across situations and circumstances. Those still tend to be the ones that pull change in B2B situations as well, I would think, because you're still going to try to pull assent from an individual rather than from that organization as an entity.